Hi, Jason Spangler, the SanteeSwapper. I've got a collection here from Michigan. This is a guy who I believe went to the 1969 National Jamboree. We communicated back and forth through the internet. He decided to sell me his collection. I've already paid for this box and he's happy with the deal. And now I'm ready to unbox it and see what's inside. So stick around and let's see what he had. So I've got the box open and inside I found this guy. Now hopefully inside I will find scouting memorabilia, not just a really old transistor radio, but if I shake this, I definitely think there's probably some good stuff in here. So let's pop it open and see what we've got. Oh yeah, here we go. Definitely some nice stuff. So I will take this out and show you guys. Beautiful patch there. That's actually the Nippon Jamboree, is a Japanese national jamboree that happens. And that would have been the year before they hosted the World Jamboree in 1971. So kind of a neat item there. Then here's a nice merit badge sash. This definitely is 1960s. You can look at the style there of the merit badges and see how they have a twill background with a rolled edge. And that is definitely from the 1960s before they went to more of the fully embroidered design that some of you might be more familiar with. Here's a nice OA neckerchief, Lodge 16. Then a couple of Jamboree neckerchiefs, 69. I mentioned earlier that he went to the 69 Jamboree. And then here's the matching neckerchiefs that go with that jacket patch. So I'm not sure if we get into this, if we'll see any other connection to Japan or whether or not that was maybe someone he met at the 69 Jamboree that he kept up with. Just not sure about that connection. Nice old OA handbook from that time period. OA Sash, so Brotherhood member there. Then there is some, these are what they call, I believe, first day covers. So I am not as deep into stamps and all of the ephemera, I believe is what you call it, that goes with that. But there is kind of a long tradition of scouts having these first day covers for jamborees, and so there definitely might be somebody who's interested in these. A whole stack of them actually, so that might be kind of neat. Boy Scouts have a long tradition of having diaries, and so there's a diary from the 69 Jamboree. And then we have other memorabilia from the 69 Jamboree I can see here on top, such as the leather patch, the jacket patch. That year they actually made a small leather patch as well, and then there's several of the actual Jamboree patches. So let me just comment on this as something that I probably have said before in unboxing videos, but you know, this is a great example of that. So this guy went to the 69 Jamboree and he ended up with 4 of the pocket patches. I'm sure this one was probably sewn on his uniform and these were not. And so kind of my speech here is that just letting people know Jamboree stuff I find in every collection almost, and they made such huge quantities of it that in the end, even all these years later, it's not very rare. So if you're sort of a novice in that, kind of just watching this because you want to learn more about scouting memorabilia, just know that these Jamboree items, as beautiful as they are, and everybody's heard of the Jamboree, they're not very rare. But here is a cool piece that I will definitely keep in my collection because I know I don't have this. Here's a nice conclave patch. So conclave is a gathering of Order of the Arrow lodges from a multi-area section. And this one, being that's pre-1972, fits right into a collection that I have. And so that one will head to my collection. Woo! It's always good to open up a box and find some winners. Then this is also from that Viking Council, which I believe is actually in Minnesota. So even though this box itself didn't come from Minnesota, often people don't, you know, end up living in the same state that they grew up in. And then here's a camp patch, and then of course here's the patch that we're all sort of familiar with from the 60s. And some other stuff in here. Now this is kind of interesting. Let me go ahead and pull this guy out. So oftentimes when I get a collection, there will be a multi-generation going on because perhaps the father was in Scouts and then the son, you know, took after the father and did the scouting journey. And so this sash definitely is not from that time period. Let me slide it under here. To me, this sash looked like it's late 30s and early 40s. I believe this is going to be pre-1946. And so based on, sometimes you can't quite tell unless you sort of get these and hold them side by side, but there is kind of a style of merit badges from that time period, this khaki crimp style that has, definitely that's what this looks like. And so this is a nice sash. there's, looks like, just making sure, sometimes on the back of sashes there'll be patches and stuff. So my guess is this would have been his father's sash, probably from the 40s, and so that is definitely a keeper. As far as merit badges go, here's one that some of you will recognize, but maybe not all of you. And for a long time, the Boy Scouts had a lot of merit badges centered around farming, because a lot of scouts lived in rural areas and did farming. And so this one, I confess, I don't have it memorized. That might be farm arrangement or farm management. There are about 4 or 5 different badges that had to do with farming. Of course, now that mechanization sort of taken over and we don't have that many people living on farms anymore, there's only like one farming badge left in the BSA, but for a long time there were more. So a couple of other cool patches that perhaps he traded for. I'll just put them up here. Again, there definitely is a connection here to Japan. I'm not sure what the story would have been, but seeing several patches there from Japan that he might have participated in somehow. Sometimes you have a situation where you have a military kid. I don't remember him telling me that in our conversations, if he had any connections there, but there certainly were in past times BSA, Boy Scouts of America, troops that were attached to military bases or to maybe even the embassy or the consulate or something in large cities. And so families of scouts would participate in the Boy Scouts of America program, even though they lived in a different country. Let me throw this up in here just because I've not ever seen that before. That is definitely, which is interesting to get it. It's a fake. That is not a real 1937 Jamboree patch, but just not quite sure where it came from. I haven't seen that one before, but it's embroidered. It's not felt like the real one is. And then also it has sort of an Asian looking embroidery, if you ask me. So not sure about that one. Okay, this is cool. So again, there's some foreign stuff here. So this is a 1950 patch from maybe somewhere in Europe. Seeing some other skill awards and stuff here. I'm sure you guys have seen that before. I won't dwell on that too much. Some different event patches. There are some kind of cute little patches here. So this one's from Kentucky. Again, can't always make out where the guy would have done his scouting, but rank and position patches that we get just all the time. And then I'll kind of wrap things up with a handful of Order the Arrow patches. And then there's a couple of cool medals in here that might be worth taking a look at as well. So, all right, first up, this guy right here is not a legitimate patch. This is what's called a Trader Bill flap. And so I have sort of heard the story that there was a patch company, I believe it was the Moritz Patch Company, that would advertise these patches for sale, and you could buy them from Trader Bill, when really they were sort of generic patches that they had made and they were selling. So that's not a real one. But here is a huge clue as to what this guy was up to. So this answers all questions. These are Order the Arrow flaps from the Far East Council Lodge that was based in Japan. And so some of these are sewn. And so to me, that just means absolutely this guy was a member of that lodge. And that would explain the 1970 Nippon Jamboree as well. So, and then the other ones being here, again, we've seen a little bit of this from Tonkawampus, which is a Minnesota lodge. And then here's a couple from Pennsylvania as well, a chapter flap, and then the regular one from Delmont. So again, I sort of enjoy doing the forensics and trying to find out the scouting history when I get these boxes. Because in a way, I'm sort of becoming the caretaker of these collections and recirculating them back into the hobby. Got some neat pins here. Looks like, again, the influence of the Japanese time, the time that he spent over there. Some cool pins that I don't have any clue what they are, but they are interesting nonetheless. And then another one here that's sort of a Japanese one. So the rest of these are mostly Boy Scout ones and ones that you probably have seen a plenty of. Belt loops, that kind of thing. And to finish it out, just a couple of books. Really old Scout Handbook. Again, this Scout Handbook would match up very nicely with this sash. And so whether it was a father or a cousin, there's definitely a strong possibility there. And then this looks to be some kind of a Boy Scout fiction book or something. Looks like somebody put their own cover on it. So maybe that's just a regular handbook. But it's really, really old here. They kind of glued it in. So I'll have to take a closer look at that. All right, so that's kind of the end of this unboxing. Really fun to get a collection like this that's about 50 plus years old from a guy who did some neat stuff in scouting. He's held on to it for a long time. His first name is Jeff, and Jeff and I agreed to let me purchase this collection, and I'm really excited to kind of recirculate it back on the hobby. I definitely will be keeping one of these flaps from Japan for my own collection. That's really cool. And maybe a few of these other items as well. Jason Spengler, the SanteeSwapper. I invite you to go to my website, scoutpatchcollectors.com. There you can find all about me, about my newsletter that I send out to memorabilia collectors, my podcast, and other videos that I've got going on. Thanks very much.